Authorities in Los Angeles have been giving more details about their investigation into the deaths of the actor Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy Arakawa.
Autopsy examination and full-body post-mortem CT demonstrated no findings of trauma internally or externally.
Play.ht. The FBI has just released a 12-hour video recording capturing Gene Hackman's final moments inside his own home, and what appears in it has truly shocked the entire world. The footage not only reveals Hackman's strange behavior with his wife's lifeless body but also shows clear signs of abnormalities before the man passed away. But the most bizarre part is the final moment of the recording, when Hackman stands motionless at the front door, his vacant eyes staring outside as if he is observing something that the camera cannot capture. A few seconds later, he collapses on the spot. What really happened inside that house? What did Hackman see in the final moments of his life? Was this just a symptom of Alzheimer's, or did some force truly appear in his last seconds? The answer lies within this mysterious footage. And what the FBI has just revealed could keep you awake at night. Why was the footage only released now? When the bodies of Gene Hackman and his wife were discovered, the police initially found no signs of foul play. The house showed no evidence of forced entry, no signs of violence or struggle. However, one key factor quickly forced investigators to reconsider their assumptions: the time of death for the two victims did not match. Forensic reports revealed that Betsy Arakawa had died at least a week before Hackman. This was not a typical death scenario, it raised far more questions than answers. If Betsy died first, how did Hackman survive during that time? Did he realize that his wife had passed away? Why didn't he call for help? The fact that there was no indication that Hackman had attempted to seek assistance led authorities to suspect that some external factor may have influenced his perception and ability to act in his final days. This is why the FBI stepped in to investigate the case further. Other strange details also fueled suspicions. Hackman's home was equipped with security cameras, yet there was no record of anyone trying to contact or enter the house in the days leading up to his death. A bottle of medication with an open cap was found near Betsy's body, though it remained unclear whether it was connected to her cause of death. Additionally, one of their 3 dogs was found dead in its cage, while the other 2 survived but appeared to be in a state of extreme distress. These details led investigators to ask, what exactly did Hackman experience in his final days? The FBI conducted an extensive analysis of the home's surveillance system and obtained a 12-hour video recording capturing the final moments before Hackman's death. This footage was not immediately released because it was considered a critical piece of evidence in the ongoing investigation. However, when the autopsy results failed to provide a definitive cause of death, the FBI made the unprecedented decision to release the footage to the public in hopes of gaining insights from forensic experts and those who were close to Hackman. Once the video was revealed, it completely changed the public's perception of Hackman's death. Initially, the video was withheld because it was under thorough examination by forensic experts and image analysts. They meticulously analyzed every frame, cross-referencing it with forensic data to uncover any clues that might explain his cause of death. However, the autopsy results yielded no conclusive findings. There were no signs of physical trauma, violence, or poisoning, yet no medical evidence definitively pointed to a heart attack or sudden stroke either. This left the FBI at an impasse. There was no clear explanation for how Hackman had survived alone before his death, nor why he did not seek help. Faced with this uncertainty, the FBI made a highly controversial decision: to release the footage to the public in an effort to shed light on the case. This was an unprecedented move, as surveillance footage is rarely disclosed in ongoing criminal investigations, especially when it captures a person's final moments. However, the FBI believed that the footage contained crucial clues that could be analyzed by the public, forensic scientists, and medical researchers to uncover the truth. Before the footage was released, multiple theories circulated about Hackman and Betsy's deaths. Some believed that both had died of natural causes, while others suspected that an environmental or medical factor may have affected both victims. The first theory suggested that Hackman died due to age-related health issues. At 95 years old, with a history of heart disease, he could have suffered a stroke or cardiac failure. If he had discovered his wife's death, the psychological shock might have caused him to rapidly deteriorate, leading to his own death days later. However, this theory failed to explain why Hackman never attempted to call for help or seek assistance from neighbors. Another theory proposed that Hackman may have suffered from late-stage Alzheimer's or severe dementia. Patients with advanced cognitive decline often lose awareness of their surroundings, and in extreme cases, they may not even recognize the death of a loved one. If Hackman had been unable to distinguish between reality and delusion, he could have remained in the house for days without realizing his wife had passed away, or he may have forgotten how to use the phone to call for help. Some investigators also explored the possibility of environmental factors, such as carbon monoxide, CO, poisoning. A minor gas leak was detected in Hackman's kitchen, though not at levels high enough to cause immediate death. However, prolonged exposure to low levels of CO could lead to dizziness, confusion, and disorientation, potentially impairing Hackman's ability to react properly after Betsy's death. Another theory suggested that an unexpected medical emergency may have occurred, perhaps Betsy died suddenly due to an unforeseen condition. If Hackman witnessed the event but lacked the cognitive ability to process it, he may have fallen into a state of shock or complete inaction, leading to his own death in the following days. All of these theories remained pure speculation, until the footage was released, revealing disturbing details about Hackman's final hours. So, what exactly was in the video that left everyone stunned? Let's find out. The haunting images in the footage. The FBI's release of the footage capturing Gene Hackman's final moments not only shed light on what happened before his death but also left a deeply haunting impression on those who witnessed it. The images in the video were not just the last moments of a man's life, they painted a vivid portrait of cognitive decline, isolation, and the emotional suffering Hackman endured in his final days. As soon as the FBI began analyzing the footage, they noticed something unusual from the very first frames. Hackman moved slowly and aimlessly. In his sprawling 9,000 square feet (836 square meters) home, he appeared uncertain of where he needed to go or what he was looking for. At times, Hackman paused in the hallway, turning his head from side to side, before continuing his wandering, directionless movements. His gait was unstable, his body leaned slightly forward, and his legs appeared heavy, all signs of physical deterioration. Medical experts noted that this could be the result of age-related muscle loss, a common condition where muscle mass declines by 3 to 5% per decade after age 30, especially without proper physical activity. By age 95, Hackman could have lost up to 30 to 40% of his peak muscle mass, making him highly prone to balance issues and falls. After wandering aimlessly for a while, Hackman entered the bedroom, where his wife, Betsy Arakawa, had died several days earlier. This was one of the most chilling moments in the video. In the footage, Hackman gently shook Betsy, as if trying to wake her up. He appeared to say something, but since the video had no audio, no one could determine what he was saying. The most heartbreaking moment came when he paused for a few seconds, staring intently at his wife's face, before shaking her again, this time more forcefully. But Betsy remained unresponsive. This occurred at least 3 times over the span of 10 minutes, indicating that Hackman was completely unaware that his wife had already passed away. Neurologists analyzing the footage believe this is a clear sign of Alzheimer's or severe cognitive impairment, in which patients cannot process new information and repeatedly revert to old memories. Hackman may have believed his wife was still alive or may have forgotten she had passed away moments after leaving the room. After leaving the bedroom, Hackman moved to the living room, where he sat motionless in a chair for hours. For over 3 hours, Hackman did not move, eat, or engage in any meaningful activity. He simply sat there, staring into the distance with a vacant expression. This is a common psychological symptom of detachment from reality, often observed in advanced-stage Alzheimer's patients. One of the most unsettling moments was when Hackman stood at a window for nearly 15 minutes, staring outside without any reaction. Was he waiting for someone? Was he hoping someone would come to help him? Or was he simply lost, unsure of what to do? In many cases, people with severe dementia lose their sense of time and forget how to perform basic actions, such as opening doors, finding water, or even using a phone. This could explain why Hackman never left the house or sought help, even though he might have wanted to but didn't know how. Throughout the 12-hour footage recorded by Hackman's home security cameras, forensic experts and investigators observed numerous repetitive, erratic behaviors that showed no clear connection between his actions, reflecting a severe disconnection from reality. These behaviors were not just unusual but raised serious questions about whether Hackman had entered a state of extreme cognitive decline, possibly due to Alzheimer's or another neurological disorder. One of the first behaviors that caught investigators' attention was that Hackman repeatedly opened the refrigerator, stared inside for a long time, then closed it without taking anything out. Strangely, he repeated this action at least 5 times over the course of the video, each time approximately 30 minutes to an hour apart. Psychological analysts suggested that this was a sign of short-term memory loss. Hackman may have forgotten that he had just checked the fridge, or he was looking for something but could not remember what it was. Another bizarre behavior was that Hackman entered the kitchen at least 3 times, touched the sink faucet, but never turned the water on. He placed his hand on the faucet, held it there for a few seconds, then quietly walked away. This scene sparked speculation among medical experts, especially those studying advanced Alzheimer's disease. They suggested that Hackman may have forgotten how to use the faucet or, for a brief moment, he knew he needed to do something important but couldn't remember what it was. This is a classic symptom of executive dysfunction, a common condition in dementia patients that prevents them from carrying out even the simplest daily tasks, even if they seem familiar. One of the most disturbing and heartbreaking scenes in the footage was Hackman returning to the bedroom multiple times. Each time, he tried to wake Betsy, standing next to the bed for long periods, gently touching her shoulder, mumbling something, then walking away, only to return hours later to repeat the same actions. Neurologists analyzing these moments agreed unanimously, Hackman was completely unaware that his wife had died. This is a common symptom in late-stage Alzheimer's patients, where they cannot retain new memories. Each time Hackman saw Betsy lying motionless, it may have felt like the first time he noticed, trapping him in a continuous cycle of confusion and fear. One of the most chilling moments in the footage was when Hackman suddenly stood still in the living room, staring at a corner of the wall for over 10 minutes without moving. This eerie scene not only haunted viewers but also raised the possibility that Hackman may have been experiencing visual hallucinations or severe cognitive distortions. Dementia patients often suffer from hallucinations, where they see things that aren't real or believe they are in a different place. Hackman may have been seeing something from his past, or a figure he was expecting to appear. The strange behaviors captured in the footage not only revealed the extent of Hackman's condition but also raised bigger questions about cognitive decline and social isolation in the elderly. If Hackman had not been alone in his final days, would someone have recognized these signs and been able to help him? The final moment of the footage was one of the most tragic and heartbreaking images. In the last minutes of the video, Hackman was seen standing near the front door, gripping his cane, his eyes empty, showing no emotion. He stood still for about a minute, as if waiting for something or trying to remember something important. Then, he looked down at the floor, turned his head, and glanced around aimlessly. Suddenly, Hackman lost his balance, staggered forward, and collapsed onto the floor. There was no sign that he tried to break his fall, no panic, no reaction before losing control. This led forensic experts to suspect that he lost consciousness just before falling, possibly due to a stroke, cardiac arrest, or extreme dehydration and physical exhaustion. Authorities later confirmed that the spot where Hackman collapsed was exactly where his body was found. This indicated that he had been lying there for hours, possibly more than a day, before being discovered. This final moment raised a crucial question: if someone had found him sooner, could Hackman have been saved? If he had someone by his side in his final days, could he have received the care and support he needed to prevent such a lonely death? This incident sparked widespread discussions about the reality of elderly people living alone and the dangers of undiagnosed cognitive decline. Millions of elderly individuals worldwide struggle with Alzheimer's and other neurological disorders, yet many do not receive the care they need. What happened to Hackman was not just a personal tragedy, it was a wake-up call about how society cares for the elderly living in isolation. The truth revealed. The FBI's release of footage capturing Gene Hackman's final moments not only shocked the public but also initiated an extensive investigation to uncover what really happened. The images in the video reveal cognitive decline, prolonged isolation, and alarming signs of Hackman's deteriorating health before he collapsed to the floor and passed away. From the very first moments of the footage, experts identified typical signs of late-stage Alzheimer's disease or a severe form of cognitive impairment. Dr. Michael Goodwin, an Alzheimer's specialist at the American Institute of Neurology, stated that Hackman's repetitive behaviors, such as opening the refrigerator without taking anything, aimlessly pacing around the house, returning to the bedroom to wake his wife, or standing still and staring at a corner for long periods, were clear indicators of severe cognitive decline. In the final stages of Alzheimer's, Dr. Goodwin analyzed, patients often fall into repetitive behaviors, even when those actions no longer align with their surroundings. The reason is that the brain has lost its ability to process new information, continuously replaying old memories, trapping the patient in a loop of unconscious behavior. According to data from the Alzheimer's Association of America, approximately 6 million Americans currently suffer from Alzheimer's, with 40% of late-stage patients losing awareness of their surroundings. Research also indicates that patients with severe dementia often fail to recognize life changes, leading to unconscious behaviors such as attempting to wake deceased loved ones without realizing reality. This perfectly aligns with Hackman's behavior in the footage. His repeated returns to the bedroom and attempts to wake his wife could be signs of confusion between memory and reality. Geriatric psychology experts warn. If not properly monitored and intervened in time, late-stage Alzheimer's patients can fall into a state of complete isolation, lose the ability to care for themselves, and face tragic consequences. Moreover, Hackman exhibited clear signs of spatial and temporal disorientation. In the footage, he appeared unable to determine where he was, what he should be doing, or even acknowledge the passage of time. These are typical signs of late-stage Alzheimer's when brain coordination functions deteriorate to the point that patients lose the ability to perform basic actions such as using a phone or seeking help. Dr. Laura Mitchell, a psychology expert at Harvard University, stated, "In the late stages of Alzheimer's, patients not only suffer from memory loss but also lose their ability to make judgments. They may not recognize danger, leading to a failure to reach out for help during crises." These analyses help explain why Hackman never called for emergency services or sought assistance, even though his health was clearly deteriorating. Experts affirm that, at this stage, patients often lose awareness of their own needs. They do not understand that they are in danger, or even if they do, they lack the capability to respond appropriately. This explains why Hackman did not attempt to use his phone or call for help, despite the footage showing him completely exhausted and disoriented. Hackman's tragedy is a stark example of the terrifying isolation late-stage Alzheimer's patients can experience, especially when there is no one around to recognize warning signs. Beyond cognitive decline, the footage also reveals that Hackman was in a state of severe physical deterioration before his death. His slow, unsteady gait and reliance on a cane were not just signs of aging but also clear evidence of physical weakness due to prolonged malnutrition and dehydration. In the video, Hackman walked unsteadily, sometimes unable to maintain his balance. Geriatric specialists noted that for a 95-year-old, even a minor loss of balance could have severe consequences. Research from the National Institute on Aging in the U.S. indicates that individuals over 85 are 5 times more likely to experience frailty than younger people. Elderly individuals living alone face a 60% higher risk of dehydration and malnutrition than those with family caregivers. During the autopsy, the FBI found no traces of food in Hackman's stomach, suggesting that he had not eaten for at least 48 hours before his death, possibly even longer. Dr. David Klein, a geriatric expert at Stanford University, confirmed. At this age, just a few days of dehydration and malnutrition can cause the body to lose 5 to 10% of muscle mass, severely impairing vital organ functions, leading to unconsciousness and death. This explains why Hackman collapsed to the floor without any reflexive attempt to break his fall, a clear sign that his body was completely exhausted before he lost consciousness. Although the footage and autopsy findings strongly indicate that Hackman's death resulted primarily from isolation, cognitive decline, and physical frailty, the FBI has not ruled out the possibility of external factors playing a role. Investigators have meticulously examined all information from the scene, including phone records, communications, and Hackman's personal relationships. A surprising discovery was that during his final days, there were no indications that anyone had visited or contacted him, not even family members or close friends. In the footage, despite Hackman's confused actions and moments of apparent paranoia, there were also instances where he turned his head and looked around as if he were listening for something. This has led the FBI to question, could Hackman have sensed someone's presence, or was there another factor causing his unease? Image analysis experts suggest that this head-turning behavior could simply be a symptom of cognitive impairment, but they do not rule out the possibility that he may have had unusual sensory experiences before his death. To further investigate, the FBI reviewed Hackman's final phone calls and messages. The results revealed that in the 14 days leading up to his death, he made no emergency calls or attempted to contact anyone. This only deepens the mystery surrounding Hackman's complete isolation, as no one was present to recognize the critical state he was in. Additionally, his past phone calls were all routine, with no indications of any crisis. Some investigators even suggest that Hackman's alert behavior, such as stopping and looking around, could reflect an internal sense of alarm. However, there is no concrete evidence to suggest third-party involvement in Hackman's final days. The absence of any signs of forced entry or external violence has led investigators to believe that his death was entirely due to his health and psychological condition. Both experts and the FBI agree that, while there are minor signs of alert behavior, they are not sufficient to confirm any external threat. Instead, all evidence points to Hackman undergoing a gradual decline, both physically and mentally, leading to a state of complete helplessness and isolation. Psychology experts emphasize that in modern society, elderly individuals living alone are at high risk of being neglected, resulting in unrecognized health and mental issues. The FBI has also conducted a thorough examination of electronic devices in Hackman's home to identify any signs of an outsider's presence or any unusual activity. The investigation results show that, apart from Hackman's actions, there were no signs of external interference in his home. This further supports the theory that, in his final days, Hackman faced complete isolation and a severe decline in health on his own. Public outrage over the footage. The release of the footage capturing Gene Hackman's final moments immediately sent shockwaves through the public. The video was not merely an investigative document but became a heated topic of debate across multiple aspects: legal, ethical, and societal psychology. The image of a silver screen legend in a state of confusion, loneliness, and complete disconnection from the world sparked deep sorrow among fans and the film industry. However, alongside sympathy, the footage also ignited a major controversy over whether the privacy rights of the deceased had been violated. Was the FBI's release of this video truly necessary? Or was it just an unnecessary shock tactic that tarnished the dignity and legacy of Gene Hackman? Beyond this, the video completely changed the public perception of Hackman's death, transforming it from a natural passing into a tragic tale of isolation, cognitive decline, and the struggles of the elderly in modern society. When the footage was released, both Hollywood and Hackman's fan community were left in stunned disbelief. No one could have imagined that a man who once symbolized strength, power, and an overwhelming screen presence would meet such a tragic end. Actors, directors, and former colleagues of Hackman not only expressed their sorrow but also their shock at seeing a once powerful man lost and helpless in his own home. Clint Eastwood, who worked with Hackman in Unforgiven, shared, "Gene Hackman was never someone who sought attention, but his performances always commanded the world's attention. It is heartbreaking to know that, in his final days, he did not receive the care and recognition he deserved." Robert De Niro, another Hollywood legend, publicly expressed his grief. "When you watch the footage, you see a man who once held the world in his hands but ultimately fell into complete isolation. This is not just a personal tragedy, it's a societal issue that we all need to reflect upon." On social media, fans worldwide flooded platforms with tributes to Hackman, reminiscing about his most iconic roles and expressing sorrow over the harsh isolation he endured before his passing. Emotional comments such as, "He once made the whole world listen," but in the end, no one hurt him, and the image of Gene Hackman in that footage is a wake-up call to the reality of elderly loneliness, spread widely, turning his death into a heartbreaking symbol of the forgotten elderly. Beyond evoking emotions, the FBI's release of the footage also sparked intense debate about the limits of privacy and transparency. Some members of the public, including Hackman's family and close friends, strongly condemned the decision to release the video, calling it a blatant disregard for the dignity of the deceased. According to them, even though Hackman had passed away, he still deserved to have his privacy and reputation protected. Privacy rights lawyers also argued that the FBI should not have made such private footage public, especially when it could cause immense distress to his family. A legal expert commented, "Releasing the footage does nothing to aid the investigation. It only deepens the family's pain and reduces a legendary figure to an unnecessary tragic spectacle." However, on the other side of the argument, a portion of the public and medical experts believed that the footage held significant value in raising awareness about Alzheimer's, elderly isolation, and society's responsibility toward its most vulnerable members. Dr. David Klein, a neurology expert at Stanford University, stated, "The footage isn't just about Hackman, it's about millions of people around the world suffering from Alzheimer's. We need to confront this reality to find solutions." Sharing this perspective, many supported the release of the footage, arguing that it provided society with an unfiltered view of Alzheimer's and the dangers of elderly isolation. Some even suggested that if such images were kept hidden, crucial lessons about mental health and elderly neglect would be buried along with them. This debate highlighted a broader ethical dilemma in modern media: should the privacy of a deceased individual be absolutely protected, or should the truth be exposed for the benefit of society? Before the footage was made public, the general belief was that Hackman had passed away naturally due to old age, like many elderly individuals. However, the video completely altered this perception. Now, his death is no longer seen as an ordinary passing but as a tragedy of isolation, of cognitive decline that went unaddressed. The footage has sparked an essential conversation about elderly care, particularly for those who live alone without family or societal support. Healthcare organizations and social activists have used Hackman's case as a stark illustration of the dangers of Alzheimer's, emphasizing that without timely intervention, even the strongest individuals can succumb to the fate of isolation and decline. Actors, directors, and former colleagues of Hackman have also spoken out, urging the community to pay more attention to the elderly. They stressed that while Hackman was a legend, he was also a human being, and his death should serve as a wake-up call for society as a whole. Ultimately, the footage is not just a piece of legal evidence, it has become a powerful message about humanity, about the importance of care and connection. It forces the public to ask themselves, are we doing enough to care for the elderly in our society? And if not, how many more Gene Hackmans are out there, facing the same tragic fate without anyone knowing? What do you think about Gene Hackman's passing? Do you believe this footage should have been released, or has it crossed the boundaries of privacy? Share your thoughts in the comments below, we'd love to hear your opinion. If you found this video meaningful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel so you won't miss out on more compelling stories. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.